every time people find out that I love reading books, I always get this one question. What is your favorite book? And if you're a reader like me, you know that that is such a difficult question to answer because there's so many factors at play.
What genre are we talking about? Are we talking about just standalone books? Are we talking about the series? Are we talking about fiction, non-fiction? Are we talking about my favorite book this year or of all time?
And you know what? I wanted to answer the question, what is my best book of the year? Welcome to the 2022 Book Offs, presented to you by This Book Belongs to Pam. Basically what I did was to take the 16 best books from last year, 2022, and pit them against each other to find out the best book of 2022, at least in my opinion. So I am using Book Roast, or G's method of reading books, which is called Compile. Now, I'm gonna link G's latest Compile video in the description below because she's gonna explain it much better than I will, but essentially there are 7 categories that we are talking about. We've got C for character, A for atmosphere, W for writing, P for plot, I for intrigue, L for logic, and E for enjoyment. Now, there are going to be a little bit of tweaks to these categories depending on the type of books because obviously it doesn't fully apply to like non-fiction books or maybe even manga. I will explain those changes as we get to those books, but this is generally the rating system that I'm using. Throughout the year, I have been rating each book that I've read 1 to 10 for each of these categories, and then I take the average of all of that, and that is the compile rating of the book. Now that rating helps me determine the star rating of the books. There's like a conversion thing going on. I actually ranked all of the books that I read in 2022, all 60 of them, based on their compile rating, and then I took the top 14 of those books plus 2 wildcards. So these are the top 14 books plus the 2 wildcards that I read last year in 2022, and this is also in order of their compile rating. So before I move on further, I was inspired by Drinking by My Shelf, who did a World Cup version of ranking and determining the best book for her. I did an NBA version, obviously, because I don't really watch football. I wanted to do a sport that I'm at least a little bit more familiar with, and that is basketball. So this is sort of patterned after the NBA. These are the matchups, and there's quite a few interesting, matchups in here, and I'm super excited, also quite nervous to actually play the game and see who will win. If you want to join in, you can pause this video and just let me know in the comments who you think is gonna be the winner of the 2022 Book Offs, presented by This Book Belongs to Pam. So yeah, without further ado, let's head on to the first matchup. Round 1, Eastern Conference, matchup number 1, we have If I Had Your Face and Daisy Jones and the Six. So very different books pitted against each other. If I Had Your Face is a contemporary novel. It's a contemporary fiction novel set in South Korea where we are following the lives of 4 young women making their way through the world while being subjected to ridiculous, impossible standards, especially, how South Korea women is portrayed in the media. And then we have Daisy Jones and the Six, which is a historical fiction novel about the rise and fall of singer-songwriter Daisy Jones, as well as the band Daisy Jones and the Six. Both very popular books of very riveting reads. Who's gonna come out on top? I guess we'll find out. Okay, first one, character. Both of them are very good character study type of books, but I think I'm gonna give this one to If I Had Your Face. Very realistic portrayal of women, very relatable as well, and I think it just had a lot more impact. I could relate a lot more to these characters compared to Daisy Jones and the Six, which is very much like glitz, glamour, Hollywood celebrities. Next one, atmosphere. So South Korea is very realistic South Korea setting, while Daisy Jones and the Six is this, rock star Hollywood life. I think I'm gonna give this to Daisy Jones and the Six because it's just very, you just get very immersed in the life that DJR has written about. I feel like a fly on the wall in this world that she has created. Next one, writing. Oh my gosh, it's so difficult because both of them have really good, evocative writing. But I'm gonna give this one to If I Had Your Face because it's just a lot more hard-hitting. Again, it's a lot more relatable, which, makes it have a lot more impact. Next up, we have P for plot. If I Had Your Face is very disconnected. It has multiple POVs and it jumps in their lifetimes. It's not like a continuous story, whereas Daisy Jones and the Six is a very autobiographical Its format is like interviews, and it literally follows them from start to end of their careers. I think I'm gonna give this one to Daisy Jones in the 6, just because I feel like the story for this book is something that you could actually follow and just get to know the characters more through the stories that they're telling. But If I Had Your Face is still a really good read. It's not really about the plot, it's more of a character study, so this one definitely goes to Daisy Jones in the 6. Next one is Intrigue. This is such a difficult matchup already because I love both of this book. Okay, I'm definitely gonna give this one to If I Had Your Face. Okay, we have 3-2 so far. Next one is Logic. Logic. I'm gonna give this one to If I Had Your Face, which means it's the winner of the first matchup is If I Had Your Face by Francis Cha. Moving on to round 2. Matchup number 2 for the Eastern Conference, we have Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough and In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This one's a mystery thriller, while In the Dream House is basically a memoir of sorts. Non-fiction, fiction, kind of weird to pit them against each other, but that's just how the book offs work. I guess we'll find out which one will come out on top. Okay, let's start with C, but some modifications first because we are comparing fiction with non-fiction. For non-fiction, C is gonna stand for credibility. If the way it's presented feels credible, if you can feel the authenticity of the author. Does that make sense? The characters in Behind Her Eyes are super interesting to me, but they're not like groundbreaking or anything. So I'm gonna give this one to In the Dream House. I feel like the way that Carmen Maria Machado told her stories, she was unapologetically vulnerable and raw about telling her stories, despite how difficult it must have been for her. So I think I'm gonna give the point to her. Next one is A for Atmosphere. So Behind Her Eyes definitely has this eerie atmosphere going on for it. But In the Dream House has this impending doom type of atmosphere because of, the abuse that she went through with her past relationship. But I'm gonna give this one to Behind Her Eyes because honestly, this book is kind of like a masterclass in creeping you out a little bit. That's what I felt like when I was reading this book. I have a vlog about it. You can watch that and see me get creeped out by this book. Next one is Writing. This one hands down is gonna go to In the Dream House. Such beautiful writing, beautiful descriptions of scenes, of moments, of emotions. Just amazing writing. Definitely going to go to In the Dream House. We're 2-1 for In the Dream House. Next one is Plot, or for nonfiction, Pace. In the Dream House felt a little bit too jumpy for me because it's like snippets of her life, and she doesn't go in a particular order, while Behind Her Eyes is very much plot heavy kind of book. Well, not heavy, but you're following this overarching plot that I really enjoyed, as well as the plot twists. I'm gonna give it to Behind Her Eyes. Yeah, I think it deserves it. Next one is Intrigue. For the unique way of storytelling, because, In the Dream House is told through this narrative tropes instead of just, straight up telling us the story of her life. I'm gonna give this one to Carmen Maria Machado. That was the reason why I picked up this book. I was very intrigued by that storytelling format, whereas for Behind Her Eyes, I was just curious. I just wanted to read a mystery thriller. Next one is Logic, or for nonfiction, it's more on the lens of was the information presented logically? Can you follow the information logically? Honestly, I'm gonna give this one to Behind Her Eyes. I said earlier that In the Dream House was very jumpy, felt very disconnected for me, and even though the usage of this narrative tropes as a storytelling device was very unique, very creative, sometimes it didn't feel logical, it felt forced. So I'm gonna give this one to Behind Her Eyes because the logic in this one very sound. I love how everything was foreshadowed. There's a little bit of like gray area towards the end, but other than that, this is an amazing book. Definitely lived up to the hype. We're going to the decider, which is E for Enjoyment. Now, this is difficult because both books are amazing, but In the Dream House is a very heartbreaking book. It's a book about pain and hurt and also healing, but there's a lot of pain in there, and that's not enjoyable to read. It's hard hitting, but it's not enjoyable. While this one this was a roller coaster ride. I really enjoyed my time reading this. So I think it's clear. We're gonna give it to Behind Her Eyes. So Behind Her Eyes wins the second matchup for our Eastern Conference. That this is such an upset. In the Dream House is a really amazing book, but when it comes down to enjoyment, I definitely enjoyed this one. So this one is gonna go to the second round. Moving on to the Western Conference for a little bit right here, we have our first matchup in this conference, which is between Jade War by Fonda Lee and Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Both very popular books, both very well loved. Definitely Song of Achilles is super popular. Jade War is actually the second book in the Greenbone Saga trilogy, which, fun fact, when I was ranking all of the top 16, I only picked the highest rank book in a series. Like the entire Greenbone saga, like Jade City, Jade War, Jade Legacy, they were all in the top 16. I removed Jade City and Jade Legacy because this one's ranked highest among the three, and I just didn't want an entire series to be in my top 16 fighting against each other. That just didn't make any sense to me. So this one is a representative of the Greenbone saga. While we have a Song of Achilles, which is a retelling of the Greek mythology of obviously Achilles. Who's gonna win? Let's find out, shall we? First one, we have C4 character. Obviously, it is a retelling, so we all know the characters. It's kind of hard to do something different with these retold characters. So I'm definitely gonna give this one to Jade War. The characters for Jade War, obviously for the Greenbone saga, they are some of my most beloved characters in any fictional book that I've ever read. Like, I love them. I love them. I'm so sad that when I read this trilogy, I was on hiatus from BookTube, because if I filmed reading vlogs for the time that I read Jade City, Jade War, and Jade Legacy, you would see me like. I just love the characters for this series. I know it's kind of not fair because I'm kind of thinking of the series as a whole, but this one was my favorite from the series. I love this one so much. We're following the same characters. There's so much character development, and I can talk for ages about this book, but I'm not going to, because this is round one. Character goes to Jade War, no questions asked. Next one, atmosphere. Now, which one of the two has really good atmosphere, has set the tone, the vibe? Oh, Jade War. The world building is just so immersive, so amazing. I was super immersed by Kekon and the entire world that Fondly here has created, so I think definitely it's gonna go to this book. So far, not doing good for Song of Achilles. We have writing next, and this is gonna go to the Song of Achilles, because as much as I love Jade War, it's not like, the writing is not like something super intensely beautiful or different or unique, but in the Song of Achilles, there are a lot of beautiful things that I've highlighted there. Way that, Madeline Miller has described the seasons, described love, and just beautiful writing, and yeah. I'll give it to Song of Achilles. So now we are 2-1 so far. Next one is plot. Now, this one is a retelling, so it's kind of difficult because obviously the plot has been written for her. She just has to tell it again. I'm gonna give this one to Jade War. This specific book, like the second book, has some of the most amazing plots that I've read in a book so far. It was very intense. There's so many layers to it, and it just had me hooked. This one had a lot of talk about strategy, about war, about everything like that, and I thought it would be boring. It could have been boring, but it wasn't, because of the way that it was written. There's just enough, push and pull to just really keep you at the edge of your seats. And the plot, I love it. I love this one.
This book hurt me so much and I love it.
So now we have 3-1 for Jade War, and it's not looking good for Song of Achilles. Next one we have Intrigue. Jade War. It's the Greenbone saga. It's the Greenbone saga. It's gonna win Intrigue. Sorry to Song of Achilles. You have beautiful writing, but you're retelling. I'm not that interested. But Jade War. So, enough dramatics. With that said, Jade War very easily wins the first matchup. This big chunky boy is gonna move on to round 2, and we'll see more of it later on. So the next matchup for the Western Conference is between Where Dreams Descend by Janelle Angeles and Defending Jacob by William Landay. Now, these two books are very different. This one is a young adult fantasy, while Defending Jacob is this crime mystery thriller book. So let's see who's gonna come out on top here. Letter C, characters. I'm gonna give this one to Defending Jacob. Amazing characters, and I think they really captured the essence of what it's like to be in the situation that they were in. So yeah, characters definitely goes to Defending Jacob. Next one, we have Atmosphere. Where Dreams Descend. When I was reading this book, I got major Moulin Rouge vibes, to the point that I watched that movie and I binge watched some interviews and a lot of material for Moulin Rouge, because this one just gave me that vibes, that atmosphere. The imagery for Where Dreams Descend is just amazing. So, Atmosphere, Where Dreams Descend, we are tied at 1-1 so far. Next one is writing. Oh, that's kind of difficult. So, Where Dreams Descend, honestly not the best writing. Very young adult, dialogues are not my favorite here, honestly. But Defending Jacob, it feels a little bit dry in a way, like the words used, the way that everything is phrased, it felt dry. And if I wasn't super interested in everything else, I would have probably been bored to death by this. But given that, writing is not just about how beautiful the language, like the words used are, but just how everything is pieced together, I'm gonna give this one to Defending Jacob. Next one is plot. Defending Jacob. Defending Jacob 100%. That book was just so incredible. Like the pacing of everything, how things were revealed, the suspense throughout from start to finish. One is, it's okay. Very interesting themes, interesting atmosphere, but nothing really to write home about in terms of the plot. Next one, intrigue. Defending Jacob. Wow, really, it's not a close fight. So we already have a winner for Defending Jacob. Intrigue because honestly, I discovered Defending Jacob because it has a TV adaptation in Apple TV, and the main character is played by Chris Evans, and the premise is just very intriguing. It's about this boy who has been accused of murdering his classmate, and that boy's dad is a district attorney. He used to be the one on the other side of the courtroom, but now he's on the defendant side. Very intriguing plot.
Also intriguing because, Chris Evans played the main character, so sorry!
We have the winner for matchup number 2 in the Western Conference, Defending Jacob by William Landay. And welcome back to Eastern Conference. We are now at matchup number 3, which is between Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid again, and 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. That is such a handful of a title. So two very different books. This one is historical fiction, of course, it's TJR, it's historical fiction, while 7.5 Deaths is a mystery thriller book. Okay. First one, we have characters. I'm gonna give this one to 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Just very interesting characters, and this whole like 2 personalities in one body type thing really nailed how it was written. Malibu Rising, the typical TJR characters of celebrities and whatnot. Very emotive, very fully fledged, but not quite unique for me. So characters go to 7.5 Deaths. Next one, Atmosphere. Oh gosh, 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I'm gonna give it to that book because the atmosphere was just amazing. We have this very game-like feel throughout the book as we are figuring things out and as we are resetting. You're kind of repeating the same day over and over again, but in different bodies trying to solve this apparent suicide/murder. So it has that very interesting setting going on, very interesting eerie atmosphere. So I'm gonna give it to 7.5 Deaths. We're now 2-0. Wow, this is going by so fast. Next one is writing. Malibu Rising. We all know TJR is the queen of really just pulling at your heartstrings and making you feel what she wants you to feel and feel it deeply. So definitely that happened with Malibu Rising. I cried in this book. I read it in one sitting. Amazing writing, beautiful lyrical prose. Next one is plot. 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. This one just, it's like a memoir again. That's what TJR does best. 7.5 Deaths has just this amazingly convoluted plot that is well written, well developed, and I think the author really did a great job at just threading all of those different lines in the book, different storylines into this one big plot and just wrapping it all nicely in the end. I loved it so much. Next one is Intrigue. I was super intrigued by this book only because at this point I haven't read any TJR. When I read this one, I just wanted to try one of her books. But 7.5 Deaths, when I read the premise of that book, I was hooked. I wanted to read it ASAP because it was just super different. I haven't read anything like that before, so it looks like 7.5 Deaths is gonna win this match. Wow, almost 4 minutes. We are already done. We have a winner of 4-1 for 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. Wow, that was a killing. The last matchup for the Eastern Conference for round 1 is between Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson and, surprisingly, Volume 1 of Spy X Family by Tatsuya Endo. Now, this is a very weird matchup because how do you compare a full-length novel to one volume of a manga series? I guess we'll find out. So first up, we have character. I love the characters for Vespertine, but I'm gonna give this one to Spy X Family just because the characters in that manga series is just so fun, unique in a ridiculous kind of way. You have a top spy, a contract assassin, and a telepathic kid. Next is Atmosphere. Definitely Vespertine. I mean, look at this. Look at this. This is the atmosphere of this book. Like all of this eerie, gothic type of imagery. You have the imagery of the convent, of these nuns, of demons, of sacred relic. The atmosphere was really immersive and I loved every single moment that I was in this world. Next one, we have writing. I'm gonna give it to Vespertine because obviously in Spy Family it's so hard because I only have the dialogue mostly to go on, and it's just a very simple, fun manga. It's not really taking itself seriously, but we all know I love my girl Margaret Rogerson's writing, so that was an easy win for Vespertine. Currently we're at 2-1. Next is plot. Vespertine. I kind of feel bad bad for Spy Family because it's such a cute show, but that's just all it is. It's cute. It's fun. I don't know how it made the top 16. It wasn't even in the wild card. It's really hard to compare the plot of like a complete novel versus a single volume. It's kind of unfair if you think about it. So, I'm sorry, but it's Vespertine for intrigue. Vespertine, I feel so bad for Spy Family. It's such a cute manga, but Vespertine, definitely. I was super intrigued by all of the, like I said, the gothic imagery as well as this concept of demons, like the different level of demons. I was interested in the darker twist of being like a nun and what you do as a nun, a Grey sister in this world. Super intrigued by this. Vespertine wins the final match in round 1 of the Eastern Conference. I'm so sorry, Spy Family, you're so cute, but you're just, I guess, not worthy to be called the best book of 2022. So, Vespertine moves on to the second round. We are back in the Western Conference for the last 2 matchups of round 1. First up, we have Bunny by Mona Awad versus I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Again, we have a fiction book versus a non-fiction memoir, which is so difficult to compare. Let's do this. So first up, game number 1, character / credibility. Oh, this is so difficult because Bunny has such interesting, convoluted characters. While Jeanette McCurdy, the way that she wrote the book just oozes like authenticity. Like she did not play around, she did not try to, sugarcoat things. She just tells us everything as it is. Difficult. I'm gonna give this one to Bunny. There, I said it. I'm gonna give this one to Bunny just because every single character in Bunny was just so ridiculous in a good way, ridiculous in a way that makes me super curious, and there's just layers upon layers in this book. Next one, A for atmosphere and I guess more of like authenticity. I'm gonna give this one to I'm Glad My Mom Died because really Jeanette McCurdy's blunt delivery of her story just really set the tone really quickly, and you just kind of get transported to her childhood, to her experiences as this young budding actress and her personal relationship with her mother. Writing, oh gosh, okay, I'm gonna give this one to Bunny just because, like I said, in Jeanette McCurdy's memoir, it's very blunt, it's very straight to the point. She's just really saying it as it is. But in Bunny, there's a lot of like plot, there's a lot of like literary devices at play. Like if you read the book on a surface level, you are gonna get so confused because nothing will make sense. But if you just peel off the layer, connect the dots and everything, and also the way that she describes things, just very visceral, very raw, that you feel it in your bones. So writing goes to Bunny for that one. Next one is plot or pace. Bunny is just this like very vague plotless type of book. Obviously it has a plot, but it's very like, it's like she threw it to the wall and just waited for it to fall down and just picked up the pieces. That's what it felt like, the plot for Bunny. But for Jeanette McCurdy's memoir, it's very, the pace, it's actually quite a good pace. She knows what to emphasize in terms of telling her story. She knows which stories to give more, I guess, like reading time. I didn't really find any part of the memoir like dragging or boring or too fast-paced even. So I think I'm gonna give this one to Jeanette McCurdy. Yeah. Next one, intrigue. Now, both of these books are very well hyped, but I think I was more intrigued with Bunny because it was just such this hyped up book, and there was just polar opposite reviews, polar opposite reactions to it. So I was very intrigued. And while I was reading it, because at first glance you have no idea what the fuck is going on, so it keeps you intrigued in that way. So yeah, I think we give this one to Bunny. Next one, logic. Bunny is very, again, at first glance it feels very logical. It feels very like, what the heck is going on? Whereas I'm Glad My Mom Died, it's very straight to the point. Oh, which one? I'm gonna go with I'm Glad My Mom Died, which means we are at 3-3. We're at the decider, which is enjoyment. Oh my god, is this really gonna be the theme for memoirs? Are we really gonna go to the decider for memoirs again? And again, I'm gonna say that I enjoyed Bunny more because I'm Glad My Mom Died is such a heartbreaking tale. This is like In the Dream House all over again. Is there really just no way to enjoy memoirs? Most of the memoirs that I read are like very sad, very heartbreaking. So I don't think there's a way to actually enjoy them. So I'm sorry, but Bunny wins the enjoyment game. And with that, we have a winner for matchup number 3. Bunny is going to the second round. Oh. Final matchup for round 1 is between Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by, yet again, Taylor Jenkins Reid, and we have Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Now, very interesting books. Both of them deal with some sort of celebrities. Let's see who's gonna win this one. First up is characters. Oh, this is quite difficult. The characters in Evelyn Hugo are just they feel so real. They feel like they're not fictional. But in Red, White, and Royal Blue, the characters are just so fun. I'm gonna give this one to Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Oh, that was a difficult one already. Okay, Atmosphere. Atmosphere. Seven Husbands has that old Hollywood feel, very, celebrity, glitz and glam life. Red, White, and Royal Blue is just this weird, intersection between US and the UK. I'm gonna give this one to Red, White, and Royal Blue. Next one is Writing. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This was just a beautifully written book. We all know that TJR is such a great writer, especially in these emotional books, very hard-hitting books. So, no doubt in my mind that Seven Husbands wins. Writing. Plot. Oh, I'm gonna give this one to, there's such different books. The itch that they scratch for you is so different. I'm just gonna pick Red, White, and Royal Blue. Okay, next one is Intrigue. I was definitely very intrigued by Red, White, and Royal Blue just because I see it a lot. I was also intrigued by Seven Husbands because I liked Malibu Rising. I'm gonna give this one to Red, White, and Royal Blue just because that whole ridiculous premise of that British royalty and the fake dating the first son, I guess. That's just a very crazy story that I was super interested in, and I was hooked the entire time just because I just wanted to know how this relationship thing is gonna work. Okay, next one, Logic. Okay, this one's easy. Logic definitely goes to Seven Husbands because honestly there's a lot of illogical things that happen in Red, White, and Royal Blue, while in Seven Husbands it feels very realistic and it feels like something that you would read in like a tabloid magazine or whatever. Okay, last round because we're tied at 3-3. This is proving to be quite a very difficult matchup. Last one is Enjoyment. Seven Husbands definitely heartbreaking. Red, White, Royal Blue had a very personal impact on me. Red, White, Royal Blue. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, TJR. Did any TJR book actually make it past round 1? Oh, none of them did. 3 entries from TJR and all of them got eliminated in round 1. Wow. Anyway, in this matchup, Red, White, and Royal Blue is the last winner for round 1. And now we're gonna move on to round 2 of the 2022 book off. Hi everyone, welcome to round 2 of the 2022 book off. Wow, round 1 was kind of brutal. There were a couple of there that were just very easy wins, while a couple of them were quite difficult. Some highlights, TJR did not make it, Memoirs did not make it. We are now at round 2, which is the quarterfinals. We have 4 matchups, 2 from each conference. Each of these books are vying for the semifinals, the 4 spots that we have in round number 3. Without further ado, let's go to the first matchup of the Eastern Conference. We have Behind Her Eyes versus If I Had Your Face. I'm just gonna go straight into it. Characters, gonna go to If I Had Your Face. There's a lot more interesting layers there, interesting, studies of the characters in the book. Atmosphere, Behind Her Eyes, very eerie, as I said, still holds true in this matchup. Writing, If I Had Your Face, it was just a lot more evocative. It was just a lot more, hard-hitting writing, a lot more beautiful prose as well. Plot, I would have to say this would go to Behind Her Eyes, because like I said, If I Had Your Face, it's a lot more it's kind of like short stories for each of the characters in that book, while this one has a very interesting plot, very well foreshadowed, very well set up plot as well, and wrapped up quite nicely towards the end. So yeah, Behind Her Eyes for plot. Next one we have Intrigue. Oh, this is quite difficult. I'm gonna go with If I Had Your Face because I was very interested with the premise of this book. I was curious about how South Korean women are gonna be portrayed in this contemporary novel, and that just intrigued me a lot because we all know that with K-pop and K-dramas, there's this very unrealistic expectations on South Korean women and women in general. So I was very curious about this book. While Behind Her Eyes, I was just curious about it just because it's a mystery thriller. I didn't really read it because of anything other than that. So yeah, next one is Logic. This is quite difficult to compare because If I Had Your Face is a very realistic take on the stories of women, while Behind Her Eyes is it's a thriller. It's a mystery thriller. It's obviously very fictional. Behind Her Eyes was very logically written. Like I said, it was wrapped up neatly in a bow. Nothing felt off. I mean, the super duper plot twist at the end was kind of off. It wasn't foreshadowed as well as the other twists and reveals. So I think I would give this one to If I Had Your Face, which means that Behind Her Eyes is knocked off second round, and If I Had Your Face moves on to our semi-finals. Exciting. The next matchup that we have for the Eastern Conference is between Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson and 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. Now, this is kind of a difficult matchup as well because I love both of these books. So let's see who prevails, shall we? C, character. I'm gonna go with 7.5 Deaths. Just the character, just the way that the author sort of merged or like overlaid the character of Aidan Bishop, the main character, and the bodies that he possesses, because he possesses a body, but he kind of adapts some of the personality, the mannerisms, the qualities of the original people in those bodies. The way that they're like merged was wonderfully done. You don't feel like there's too much of one personality. At the same time, the Aidan in body number 1 seems very different from the Aidan in the other bodies, but they all still feel like Aidan. Does that make sense? It's just like different facets of Aidan Bishop is being highlighted depending on the body that he inhibits. I think that just shows how well the characters were written. So 7.5 Deaths. Atmosphere. Oh, this is a difficult one because Vespertine. I'm gonna show it again to you because look at that. Look at that vibe. I mean, the gothic vibe for Vespertine it's one of my favorites. But 7.5 Deaths, the atmosphere really felt like a game. I felt like I was in a stage in a game where I was stuck in this manor and I have to solve this murder, and every day I get, thrown into a different body. It just feels like a game to me. That really, amped up the atmosphere. That just made everything a lot better. And oh god, it's so difficult. I'm really having a hard time with this one. I'm gonna give this one to Vespertine. Yes, I think the world building in Vespertine is just very well contained, well written, still very creative, but it didn't like just go off the rails. So yeah, Vespertine. Oh my god, that was so difficult. Oh my gosh. Okay, that was a close one. Next one, writing. This is easy. Vespertine wins this one because Margaret Rogerson's writing I really love it. 7.5 Deaths can be quite dragging, and even though I felt like the writing for 7.5 Deaths, it's necessary to be kind of written that way because of the plot and everything. I just think that this one just, I liked it better. Next one is plot. 7.5 Deaths. It's very unique, and I just love how it was laid out. I'm not a big fan of the ending, but I get what they were trying to do. It's not like a far-fetched, like crazy ending that doesn't make sense. But I love the plot. I loved this multiple timelines, multiple characters, how things are all overlapping. Loved it. Intrigue. This one goes to... Oh, this is difficult. I think this one goes to Vespertine because I was just really intrigued by, again, the imagery. Just the atmosphere of this book just intrigued me so much. I think this book, when it came out, it had mixed reviews, but I was sold from the moment that I read like the gist of the book, just because I love how it sort of talks a lot about loneliness, of belonging, of what it feels like to be homesick for something. And I think that just added to the intrigue of this book, just because it's something that I also feel a lot of, being far away from my family and everything. So yeah, Vespertine. And now we're at 3-2. We're super, like, this is like tooth and nail. Next one is logic. I'm gonna give this one 7.5 Deaths, just because of the very convoluted plot. Everything was still very logically presented, and I think that's why the sort of drier type of writing style worked well for it, just because there's so much going on with the plot already that it needed to be presented very well for it to remain logical. So yeah, I think this one's 7.5 Deaths. Oh no, we are at the decider, which is E for enjoyment, and I enjoyed both books. How do I choose? How do I choose, guys? How do I choose? Vespertine is such an enjoyable book for me to read. I binge read it. I'm pretty sure I did. I know I'm gonna reread it because I enjoyed it so much. I'm just typing it on Storygraph because I want to see my review. Same for 7.5 Deaths. So we have a guest judge over here, which is my dog. Say hi. Say hi to everyone. Hi, guys. He hates what I'm doing. So what do I choose, big boy? Do I choose Vespertine or do I choose 7.5 Deaths? Which one? Which one did you think I enjoyed more? Which one, big boy? Which one? Why did you two get matched up. It's so difficult. I think I'm gonna go with Vespertine. Oh my gosh, is 7.5 Deaths really knocked out? Yes, I'm gonna go with Vespertine. We have a winner for this very difficult matchup. Vespertine. I think I'm choosing this one because I really enjoyed the banter between Artemisia, the main character, and the voice, the voice in her head, the thing that possessed her. I don't want to spoil it as I'm not like giving specifics, but I really enjoyed their banter. I enjoyed how their relationship, like it's not a romantic relationship, but I enjoyed how it blossomed from distrust and just, not really hate, but really just distrust to like being dependable, being each other's like person, someone you can depend on. So yeah, I think because of that relationship, I'm gonna give this one to Vespertine. Oh my god, I feel so bad for 7.5 Deaths because I really love that book, but it has to be done. It has to be done. We have a winner for this matchup. Vespertine is going to the semifinals. We are going to the Western Conference, and the first matchup is also a very difficult one. We have Jade War by Fonda Lee against Defending Jacob by William Landay, and I don't know what to do because I really love both books and I want them to move on into the semifinals. Oh gosh. Okay. Character. Okay, so Jade War just has an amazing cast of characters. It's a very huge cast. You get an entire clan. Actually, you get two clans because you got two clans like fighting each other, and you get sort of like backstories for both of them. You get to know them through everything that happens in this book. There's a lot that happens in this book, and you get to know them, get to know their motivations, how they improve, how they develop as leaders, as fighters, as part of a family, as enemies even. So yeah, I think given the scale of this book, like the number of characters, like number of good characters that this book has, I'm gonna give this one to Jade War. Even though I really enjoyed the character study in Defending Jacob, especially because it's about this boy that is accused, about a family that is going through a trial, about it talks a lot about the cost of being accused of something, not just the financial cost but also like the societal cost, the emotional cost, emotional damage, if you will. Very beautiful character study, very well explored, but the characters in this book just has me on a chokehold. So okay, next one is Atmosphere. Now this is a fantasy book, right? So we've got this entire setting, entire world building, which is well made. Honestly, it's just not this random isolated chunk of island where everything is happening there. It's an entire world and how everything is like connected. So the world building is amazing, and that contributes a lot to the atmosphere of the book. Now in Defending Jacob, you really get this feeling of impending doom while you're reading that book, because you just don't know. One, you don't know. You have no idea who the killer is. You don't know if it's actually the son. Did he actually do it? Is there some other killer on the loose? We don't know. And that sort of like gives this feeling of doom. Like you distrust yourself, you distrust what you read. You sort of go back and forth between, oh, he did it, oh, he didn't. Which is the same exact thing that the family is going through, because they don't know if their son did it. But they have their son is their family, so they kind of have to trust him and they kind of have to support him whatever happens. So there's this feeling overall of doom, of doubt, of just this dread, very suffocating atmosphere, which is exactly what the family is going through. And I think the author did a really great job at making us, the reader, feel that way as well. So this is difficult for me. I think I'm gonna go with, I don't know, but I'm gonna give it to Jade War before I change my mind. Very immersive world building, as simple as that. Next one is writing. Now, I think the writing for Jade War, it's not anything to write home about. It's very kind of straightforward. There are some beautiful passages here and there, beautiful metaphors, beautiful written in terms of how like the plot is weaved together, but in terms of the actual words itself, nothing really too special. But Defending Jacob, I think, has a leg up in the writing category, because whatever the family feels, we kind of feel, even though we are just looking at everything through the lens of one character, because this is just following one character and how he interacts with the different characters in the story. We still get a lot about what every single person in the book is going through, and also we feel that dread that they feel, and it feels very visceral in that sense. And also there are a couple of really good parallelisms to real life, especially because the story itself is very realistic, and this probably happens as well in real life. So yeah, I think writing is gonna go to Defending Jacob. Plot. Now this is a difficult one. I think plot is gonna go to Jade War. Yeah, because this book is really it's Jade War, right? So it really talks a lot about the war efforts between the two different clans and how they're like going back and forth and how they're just fighting each other and trying to get the upper hand. And I think this is such a big book, but I think everything was just written wonderfully. Like all of the different storylines just converge really well, and when they do, there's like impact, and it just makes so much sense. And for a book that's centered on like it's kind of like chess, for a book that feels like it's all about strategy and whatnot, it was not boring at all. The plot kept me engaged. So yeah, it goes to Jade Noir. 3-1, defending Jacob. We're not looking too good. Next one is Intrigue. Oh. I would say this one goes to defending Jacob. I was really intrigued by the premise of this book, and I guess both of them has some kind of advantage because obviously this is part of a series. I was intrigued by the ending of the first book, which is Jade City, which obviously made me very curious about Jade War because it's kind of like a not really. I guess it's a cliffhanger, if you will. So I was super intrigued to get started with this book. On the other hand, Defending Jacob, I watched it before I read it. Obviously, I was already intrigued because of Chris Evans, and I was intrigued because the adaptation did such a great job at portraying the characters, the vibe. So, but I think I'm gonna give this one to Defending Jacob. Next one is Logic. I think this one is gonna go to in Jade War. Like I said, plot is very well written, and everything just made sense. So obviously, it's very logical. Like within the world that was created, everything that happened was 100% logical. This is a very intelligently written book. Like nothing was left up to chance. Like every single like story, every single thing that happens, it happened for a reason and it had a purpose in the book. But in Defending Jacob, everything made sense, but there were a couple of details that were just a little bit too fantastical for the world that it's in. Like it's set in the real world. It just felt like some of the things that happened were just it didn't feel like they could be realistic. It felt like they were there for convenience, you know, to create this additional storyline or to create this sense of like the mystery aspect. So I'm gonna do it. Jade War wins Logic, which means that Jade War by Fonda Lee is going on to our semifinals. Congratulations, and you're almost there. So we'll see if you win the 2022 book offs. Okay, welcome to the final matchup of our quarterfinals. We have Bunny by Mona Awad and Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Let's see who moves on to the next round. So first one, character. I'm gonna give this one to Bunny. Bunny just felt a lot more unique to me, and it felt like each character really had layers. They're not just your typical characters. Each character had like a purpose to fulfill in the book and in the message that the author is trying to get across. Whereas in Red, White, and Royal Blue, they're just fun characters. Nothing really too deep about them. I love them. I love all of the characters, but it's just a fun, goofy time, if you will. Okay, next game is Atmosphere. I'm gonna give this one to Bunny just because Bunny just created this entire world that is very crazy, and it feels like you're in a fever dream. That's the atmosphere for Bunny. It feels like you don't really know what's going on, and it feels like you can't believe anything that you read, and it's just this very confusing but still very intriguing atmosphere. So yeah, Bunny. Next one is writing. Bunny again. Oh my gosh, Bunny is just sweeping this series. I'm gonna give this one to Bunny just because, like I said, it's very convoluted, but if you peel the layers, if you really look into it, if you really check the parallelism, it's very intriguing. It's such an interesting read. But for Red, White, and Royal Blue, it was just really a fun romance read, and while it had like a personal impact on me, the writing itself is not anything really different or anything. It definitely doesn't compare to Bunny, so at least in my opinion. Plot. Bunny, like I said, the plot it's all over the place. You're not reading it for the plot. Maybe you are, but I don't know. Red, White, and Royal Blue is really fun, really ridiculous, also crazy, but in a this doesn't happen in real life kind of way. Bunny's more of like, am I having a fever dream crazy? So I'm gonna give this one to Red, White, and Royal Blue. I'm gonna throw Red, White, and Royal Blue a bone and give plot to this book. Not because it's not like a pity vote, but I do think the plot itself was fun. It was a wild ride, and I had a good time with it. So I'm gonna give it to this book. Next one is Intrigue. Oh gosh. Definitely was intrigued in Bunny. I wanted to know what the fuss was all about. It had polarizing reviews. I was so curious about it. Red, White, and Royal Blue is a well-beloved. Oh, which one was I most intrigued by? Well, if I look at it from like which book I was more curious to read, it was definitely Bunny. I wanted to read it for a while. It was just really hard to get a copy locally at the time, and also the wait for the library so long. For Red, White, Royal Blue, I was intrigued by it, but really just because I wanted to read something fluffy, nothing really deeply. But this isn't about which book like is more deep. It's about which book I was more intrigued by. I'm gonna give it to Bunny. So Bunny with 4-1 wins this matchup. I'm sorry, Red Royal Blue. I love you. I love this book. This book has a special place in my heart because of its personal impact on me. But objectively, based on compile, Bunny moves on to the semifinals. And that is a wrap for round 2. That was very brutal. Some of the books that I really enjoyed were eliminated, but that's just the nature of the game. That's how we determine the best book. Let's move on swiftly to the semifinals. Hi everyone, welcome to the Eastern Conference Finals. We are trying to determine the best book in the Eastern Conference that will go into the final round. Oh, this is a very, very, very nerve-wracking matchup because we have two very, very amazing books here. First up, we have Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson, and then we have If I Had Your Face by Frances Cha. Next up, we have characters. Both of them have really fun and enjoyable characters. Vespertine, definitely fantasy setting, so you've got a lot more of our typical YA fantasy type of characters, but If I Had Your Face is a contemporary fiction novel, so the characters are realistic, very relatable. So which one wins this round? Oh, I'm gonna give this one to If I Had Your Face. I feel like the fact that I could relate to these characters and the fact that these characters represent stories of women in South Korea and like in Asia, essentially, maybe even the world, it's just not something that I could ignore. So character goes to If I Had Your Face. Next one is Atmosphere. I think this is a clear winner for Vespertine. This one just created this gothic atmosphere really well. I was super immersed by it, and I really appreciated all of the imagery that it gave me. So yeah, Vespertine. Whew, okay, we've got 1-1. Next one is Writing. Oh, okay. If I Had Your Face had some really good lines in there, really amazing reflections on women, on the struggles of being a woman in today's society, and the expectations that people have of women. Vespertine, on the other hand, we all know that I love Margaret Rogerson's writing, but this book talked a lot about loneliness, about finding your purpose, about being homesick for something that you don't even know you called home. So I could relate a lot to that because, you know, I'm away from my family, and I do feel homesick a lot, even though my home is here. But the people that I spend a lot of my time with, like a lot of my life with, are far away from me. So I kind of relate to it in that sense. Let's see, which one? If I Had Your Face, definitely hard-hitting. I cried in this book. Vespertine, really funny writing as well. Dialogues are amazing. Banter is really amazing. Margaret Rogerson does that really well. I'm gonna give this one to If I Had Your Face. I just think the themes, the emotions, the lyrical writing in If I Had Your Face was just really top notch. It made me cry, it made me laugh, it made me sad. I could relate to it. So yeah, I think that's right. I think writing should go to If I Had Your Face. Wow, we're like ping-ponging in here. Next one is plot. If I Had Your Face is kind of like snippets of the lives of these women. So it feels very disjointed. There are a lot of storylines that were sort of open but not really closed. It's really more of a character study. It's not about the plot. Whereas this one, we've got this full-on fantasy plot in a very immersive world. And I think everything made sense. I was really engaged. I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, plot definitely goes to Vespertine. Wow, we are really, give and take. Okay, next one is Intrigue. This is so difficult. It's so hard. This category is so hard because obviously these are my top books. So I am very much intrigued by all of these books. How do I compare them? Let's see. Okay. I felt like I've said everything that I wanted to say about Intrigued for these two books. So I just have to pick one. Well, I was definitely very intrigued by all of the different, demons and relics. I wanted to know more. While I was reading this book, I wanted to have, a lexicon of all of the things that they were talking about. It's just so hard. I'm gonna give it to Vespertine. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Vespertine. So right now we're at 3-2 with Vespertine leading. So next one is Logic. Again, it's this difficult comparison between something realistic and something fantastical. But in terms of how information was presented, I think this one is very logically presented. Like, even with a fantasy world, nothing was just randomly happening, just, to push the plot forward. Everything had a purpose, everything had a reason for happening. With If I Had Your Face, it's based on reality, but there were a couple of things there that felt a little bit too like unrealistic. Well, I don't really know. Maybe it's realistic, but I guess it's just not something that I thought could happen. But at the same time, it's portraying very different women, but also very extremes in terms of the types of women that are being represented, the types of stories that are being told. Those stories were definitely told to like invoke some kind of emotion because they're kind of extreme. I'm gonna go with Vespertine. Oh, which means Vespertine makes it to the finals. We've got a 4-2 win over If I Had Your Face. Vespertine is the first book to go into the 2022 Book Offs finals. Honestly, I was so surprised. I'm so surprised that Vespertine made it this far because I didn't think that a YA fantasy could make it this far with all of the different books that I've read. I think it just happened with the matchup and everything. But yeah, first book of our finals is this beautiful, beautiful novel. Welcome to the Western Conference Finals. We are now having the face-off between Jade War by Fonda Lee and Bunny by Mona Awad. Now, these two books are very different books. Which one will make it to the finals? Let's find out. Okay, first one, characters. Oh, now this is difficult. This one is difficult because, like I said, Jade War, amazing cast of characters. I love them all. I will swear my life to this book, to the characters in this books, like on my honor, my life, and my Jade. I love Kaol Hilo. I love Shay. I love Wen. I love Anden. Like, I love all the characters here. I hold them so near and dear to my heart. So I'm gonna go with Jade War for this one. Okay, next one is Atmosphere. World building, Jade War, definitely top notch. But I think Atmosphere, in a sense of like the vibe that it created, I think Bunny wins this one just because it has that very, like I said, like I keep repeating myself, but it's like a fever dream, like through and through. I felt like I was having a fever dream, and I think that speaks a lot to the atmosphere of the book. Next one is writing. Oh, I think I'm gonna give this honestly to Bunny just because Jade to the War is like written very matter of factly, and everything was just it's like a very pragmatic type of writing, if that makes any sense. All the storylines tied together very neatly, amazingly. But Bunny was just special. Like the way it's written is very visceral, very, very raw. It felt like it was reaching into me whenever I was reading all these different passages about being an outsider, about wanting to fit in, wanting to belong, wanting to, like, you're doubting what you're seeing, but you're forcing yourself to believe in it. All of those themes, I think it was very well written, and also I guess all of the parallelism that it had with how we all want to belong in something, no matter what that something is. Just as long as we belong, we try to do everything to be a part of something. So yeah, I think it was just very masterfully written as well. So Bunny has the lead right now, 2-1 with writing. Now next one is plot. Jade War. Jade freaking War. I love the plot. I love everything, all the storylines, how they converge, how things were revealed, how things were resolved. Jade War. Next one is Intrigued. I think I'm gonna give this one to Bunny. I was just super curious about this book, so I'm just gonna give it to Bunny. Very simple. Logic. If you take Bunny at surface value, it feels very illogical because just nothing makes sense. But like I said, if you really peel the layers, if you really, study the text, if you will, it does make a lot of sense. Honestly, this one goes to Jade War because this was like a 4D chess game. Not that I would know like a smart chess move even if it hit me in the face, but this one was just amazing in terms of how everything was strategic. The characters were thinking like 500 steps ahead, and it was just like a very intense like volley of shots, of very intelligent moves, and I loved it. And everything actually made sense even if like everything was just based on like real life, if you will, just as the setting is quite different, but it feels like it was based in real life in terms of how the things were, the politics of how commerce affects things, about how war can affect supply and demand, things like that. I love that in this book. So that one goes to Jade War. Now we are going into a decider enjoyment. Now I think Bunny is quite unlucky that the enjoyment is the decider, because I thoroughly enjoyed Jade War. I devoured this book. This book hurt me, but I loved it a lot. I enjoyed my time reading it, and I also, like, it broke me, but I still enjoyed it, and that's saying a lot. This was like a drug to me. I could not put it down. And so with that, Jade War wins and is going into our finals. Wow, that was such a trip. I knew that Jade War would have to beat so many good books along the way, but this book is just amazing. I'm so excited to see who is gonna take home the title of my best book of 2022. So yeah, I guess we'll find out in the finals. Hi everyone, welcome to the 2022 Book of Finals. So just bear with me here. This is the inaugural book off, so we don't have the budget. Okay. For the final round to determine my best book of 2022, we have competing for that title Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson and Jade War by Fonda Lee. Now it's super, I guess, serendipitous that I actually have physical copies of these two books. I think throughout this book offs, I have been showing one physical copy, and then one of them I didn't have a copy, so I just had the photo on the screen. But for the finals, we have both of them as a physical copy, which also, you know, indicates that I really love this book. Who's gonna win? We don't know. We don't know. I guess we'll find out. I'm kind of nervous because I love these two books. I love them so much, and I don't want someone to lose. But alas, we have to do this difficult job and just accept that only one book can become the champion, the best book of 2022. Okay, before we begin, let's check who's the crowd favorite, who is the fan favorite, who do the readers love going into the finals. So first up, we have a Vespertine, which has a Stargraph rating of 4.11 stars. Very high, definitely well loved. And then let's check out Jade War. Jade War by Fonda Lee has an average rating of 4.49. We'll crown Jade War as the crowd favorite. Okay, game one, character. Oh, character. Okay, I have professed my love for the characters in this book so many times in this video. Well, this one I don't think I talked about it too much, but since this is the finals, let's dive deeper into it, okay? In Vespertine, we are following Artemisia. She is a nun in training. She's trying to become a Grey Sister whose job is to cleanse spirits so that they can pass on into the afterlife and they don't linger and become like evil, destructive spirits. So that's her job. We're also sort of following this voice in her head that because she gets possessed by someone, I'm not gonna spoil who that is, but she gets possessed by this being, very powerful being, so she sort of starts to have powers as well, and throughout the book we're just following them as they grow into this very mutual beneficial relationship. It's not romantic at all, and she just starts to discover things about herself, things about the world, the society that she's living in, the occupation that she wants to have, like the institution. So yeah, those are the characters in the book. There are a lot more characters, but those are the two main people that we are following. On the other hand, in Jade City, we have the No Peak clan, which is one of the ruling clans in this fictional country called Kekon. Very powerful clan, and the current leader of the clan, or in this book they call him the Pillar, so the son of another former Pillar. So this is like a family thing. It gets passed on to the family, and we're following him, his family, his clan, his friends, everyone. And we're also getting to know their enemies, which is the Mountain Clan, head by Ait Mada. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing all of the names right. And there's just a huge cast of characters, and we follow a lot of them, but I think it really helped a lot because you get to know everyone. You invest a little bit of yourself in every single character, so everything that happens just hits a lot harder. You root for characters, you even root for the enemies because that's how well written each character is. So I think, given all this venting that I'm doing, I think character will go to Jade War. Oh, I'm so nervous. Okay, next one is atmosphere. Now, atmosphere for me includes like the world building. So Jade War is set in this fictional country called Kekon, very much it's kind of like a mix between Southeast Asia in terms of like the weather, the surroundings, but then a lot of the customs and the culture is very East Asian, very like inspired by Chinese culture as well. The magic system is based on jade, as in the stone jade. Like jade possesses this ability to enhance someone's like I guess innate powers. Very unique magic system, very well explained as well. And in terms of atmosphere, it really did a good job at representing like a lot of Asian sentiment, Asian culture, and I really related a lot to it because I'm Asian. I really love that. It's very immersive as well because it doesn't just focus on this one island. Everything that happens in this book, you get to see the ripple effects in the world, like in the entire world. There are other, like obviously different countries inspired by different real life countries as well. Now, on the other hand, for Vespertine, the setting is very much, I guess, like it kind of reminds me of like the time of the Crusaders. It's like a mix of British, maybe a little bit of Spanish in terms of the like institutions that are present in there, like all of the convents, the hierarchies in terms of like the priests and the nuns. It's very Western in that sense, but it definitely created that eerie atmosphere, very sort of gloomy and gothic, very gothic, definitely. And all of the descriptions of the different spirits, the different demons, the different like jobs, if you will, in this book was spot on. It really contributed to that gothic environment, and I really loved it so much. And we've got, I'm gonna show it again. We've got some visuals over here to help support the vibes. Okay, so who am I gonna pick for atmosphere? I think I'm gonna pick Vespertine for atmosphere. While I really love the world building of Jade War and the whole Greenbone saga, I really appreciate it. It's very well made. I think this just gave me a lot more vibes, like a very intangible thing called vibes. Wow, this is the finals, guys. Next one is writing. Writing in terms of like beautiful words, beautiful phrases, quotable quotes, definitely goes to Vespertine. But writing in terms of like weaving together different plot lines, writing different characters, and just an entire epic world, Jade War. So which one do I value more for this category? For the entire tournament, I've been judging writing by really just how beautiful the words are, how hard-hitting they are, how, I guess, quotable for me they are, how relatable they are for me. Not really so much in terms of the logistics of how the writing contributes to the plot, to the characters, to the whatever. So with that said, I'm gonna give writing to Vespertine just because, everything was just beautifully written. We know I love Margaret Rogerson's writing, so Vespertine. We are now at 2-1 in favor of Vespertine. The next one is plot. I think this one is an easy win for Jade War. Just because everything that happened in this book, all the different plot lines, everything was just well written. Nothing was confusing, nothing was out of place, nothing felt like convenient. Everything had a purpose, and they all match up really well towards the end. Whereas in Vespertine, it's fun. It's a kind of a typical plot, if you will, for YA fantasy. We have this girl who's sort of like chosen by the spirit that possesses her, and then she goes on into this journey of acquiring certain things, knowing certain things in order to stop this evil master plan. It's a very typical plot. Well, this one is just, it's not unique per se, but it's very intricate. I think that's the term that I would use. It's very intricate. Plot goes to Jade War. So we're now tied at 2-2. Oh, I'm so nervous. I really don't know who's gonna win, honestly, because I have an idea in my head who's gonna win each category, but as I talk about them, I kind of change my mind a little bit depending on this, like on my thoughts at the moment. So I'm so nervous. Okay, next one is intrigue. This is difficult. Again, this is a second book in a series, so obviously I was pretty intrigued coming off the first book, like the cliffhanger-ish in the first. Obviously, the first book already established a lot in terms of the characters, setting, the story. So I was pretty much intrigued coming into the second book. I just wanted to know what happens next, right? And then for Vespertine, this was a completely, I'm not sure if this is going to become a series, but this is the first book, if ever. So it's very new to me. I was intrigued by all of the imagery, all of the gothic imagery. I really wanted to know more about the world. I mentioned earlier that while I was reading it, I wanted to have like a lexicon, like a, you know, like a textbook about the different spirits, like the different levels of the spirits, different ways that the spirits can manifest, just because the world is just so immersive for me in that sense. So I was very intrigued by it. And throughout the book, like, well, this one is obviously Jade War is a lot longer, but it definitely kept me intrigued the entire time due to its like very intricate and amazingly written plot as well. Of course, the characters as well. In Vespertine, I was invested from start to finish. How do I choose? I kind of hate this category because it's kind of vague and it kind of encompasses a lot of things. Because obviously, if you like the characters, you're gonna be intrigued by them. If you like the plot, you're gonna be intrigued to read more. Which one? I think I'm gonna give this one to Vespertine just because it had the disadvantage of being either a standalone book or the first book in a series, so it doesn't have a lot of space to do a lot of things, but it still managed to hook me and it still managed to create this amazing world throughout this few pages compared to Jade City, which is very thick and also a second book in the series already. So it had a lot of like leg to stand up on, if you will. So I'm gonna give this one to Vespertine. Okay, so now we're at 3-2 in favor of Vespertine. Next one is Logic, and similar to the plot, it's very clearly Jade War because everything was just realistic, logical in terms of the world that they built. Nothing felt just convenient. Nothing was done just out of convenience, just to push the plot forward or to push a specific agenda. Everything happened naturally, if you will. It didn't feel like it was fabricated. Logic. This is one of the most logical books that I've ever read, and I don't know. Maybe I haven't read a lot of fantasy books, but this one is just. I did not doubt anything that happened in this book. I did not doubt any of the bad things, the good things, the failures and the successes. I did not doubt any one of those because everything was just laid out beautifully. So Jade War wins this one. Oh, game 7 enjoyment. We are down to the last game, and this one determines who is the best book of 2022. Like who wins the 2022 book offs. Well, it goes without saying that I definitely enjoyed both books. That goes without saying. I mean, they're not gonna come this far if I didn't enjoy them that much, right? I'm really torn. Okay, let's talk about the books. That's how I decide things anyway. So with Vespertine, I enjoyed all of the imagery. I enjoyed the world building. I enjoyed the dialogue, the banter between the characters. I enjoyed a lot of the writing. I was hooked. It was a fun action adventure story. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Now, in Jade War, I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed, growing with the characters, getting to know them through a long period of time, to different, historical moments in their lives. I enjoyed all of the plot and all of the intricacy of it. This book hurt me a lot with everything that happened, but that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy being a part of their lives. Oh, you know what? I kind of feel it in my heart. I kind of know which one I enjoyed more, and I kind of know which one I would be sad if it didn't win. It's kind of like when you flip a coin to decide who wins, but you're hoping for a specific, winner to show up. So I'm gonna accept it. I'm gonna follow my gut and my instincts and say that enjoyment goes to Jade War. Jade War wins the 2022 book offs. You know what? Well deserved. Well deserved. This book, I mean, I know it's kind of unfair a little bit because this is the second book in the series, building on something that was a book that I also enjoyed. Because Jade City is also in my top 16 books, actually. But Jade War, I think it's really the plot. It's the intricacies of the plot, the logic of it all, and just the growth and development of every single character in the book. Not just like the main people, but every single one of them. Just made this book so much more enjoyable for me to read. Just made this book really something that I couldn't put down, something that I thought about a lot. I couldn't read any other book after Jade War. I wanted to just go ahead and read the third book, which is Jade Legacy, because this book just had such a lasting impression on me. And that's true for the entire Greenbone saga. And honestly, it feels weird to have read this book last year and not give it the top spot. So I'm happy. Vespertine fought valiantly. Vespertine was really hanging in there. It's really one of the better books that I've read last year and deserving of the second place. But our champion, our winner, the one that possesses the title of my best book of 2022 is Jade War by Fonda Lee. That is it. That is the end of the first ever book off presented to you by This Book Belongs Spam. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. I worked really hard for this video. I just really wanted to make this video quite fun, and I know this is just me gushing about the books that I enjoy, but I thought it would be a lot more fun to do it this way rather than just list down all of the books. But either way, if you don't like Jade War, all of the other books that I mentioned in this video are some of my favorites still. So I'd love for you to check them out if one of them piques your interest. So if anyone asks me, like, what is the best book that we've read in 2022? I know that I can say Jade War by Fonda Lee with 100% confidence. Thank you again for watching this video. I don't say this often, but because I worked so hard on this video, I hope you do like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this. And also I want to thank again some of the people who inspired me to make this video. One is obviously G from Book Rose, because she made compiled like the rating system that I use. I'm gonna link her video down below. And also Drinking by My Shelf, because she did the World Cup, and you know, that's where this idea came from. I'm gonna link her World Cup of Books, World Cup of Book World Cup. I'm not sure how she phrased it. I'm gonna link it in the description below. And yeah, that has been the 2022 book offs. Thank you for watching. I hope you like this video, and let me know in the comments if you have different opinions, and if you were to, like, if you've read the books that I included here, who would be your winner? Like, who would be the best book for you? If you made it to the end of this video, please put like a trophy emoji. Just put it down below. And yeah, thank you again for watching this. Please like and subscribe because I worked so hard on this video, and I don't know, I just wanted it to be a little bit different than what I would usually do for like wrap up. So yeah, Jade War is the best book of 2022 for me, at least. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!